I can go first. I'm Marty Mecklenburg. I think my name was already mentioned. I'm part of the engagement and economic empowerment team at the city's Department of Community Investments. I've been involved with this greenhouse project since the beginning. And in fact, it was Antonius and I out in the field at Potawatomi Zoo trying to figure out how to hire someone to take the greenhouse apart and save it from going into a landfill and put it back into a productive purpose in the Kennedy Park neighborhood. So I think I might just call on people if that's all right, and you can unmute yourself and introduce yourselves if you don't mind. The first person I have on my list is Viola Sims. Viola, I don't know if you can unmute yourself and say hello.
Okay, hi Marty, how you doing?
Hi Viola.
You know, me and these fingers not that good.
That's fine.
Okay.
Do you want to introduce yourself and tell us who you are and what your association is? Yeah.
Sure, I'm so sorry. My name is Viola Sims, and I'm the president of Kennedy Park Neighborhood Association.
So for those of you who were watching Dominique's presentation, at the far west side, there was a little arrow pointing to the Kennedy Park Neighborhood Association building. They have a little community center right on the other side of Linden Avenue from this proposed project location. I'm glad you're here, Viola.
Thanks, you're welcome.
Becky.
Hi there. Sorry, I had to get away from the kids, so I found a good place to hide in my house.
We all understand by this point. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Becky Lees, and I am a community wellness coordinator with St. Joseph County Purdue Extension. I also co-chair. I help Robin Vita co-chair the St. Joseph County Food Access Council, and I'm funded by the USDA to work exactly on these type of projects, the limited resource audience and food access. So I'm happy to be here.
Well, we're thrilled to have you here. Great. For some reason, there's another Marty Mecklenburg. So I don't know who that is, if it's my secret twin. But if you see your name as Marty Mecklenburg and you're not me with the camera turned on, you could unmute yourself and tell us who you really are. Or I could just skip ahead.
I've had that happen.
Yeah.
I clicked on someone else's Zoom link, like they forwarded me, but it was actually their personal Zoom link, and I that's probably what happened. So.
Yes. Becky, sorry, go ahead.
Hello.
Mr. Herring, you would be the only one up there doing it.
Yes, hello, we can hear you.
Oh, I guess, yeah, this is Dylan Schwegel. I was wondering where my name was. I didn't.
Well, go ahead and introduce yourself, and you should be able to rename yourself afterwards as well. But go ahead and introduce yourself right now.
Yeah, hi, Dylan Schwegel. New intern working with the economic empowerment team, and I'm just here to learn a little bit more about this project we're working on.
Great, thanks, Dylan. Angela Rose.
Yes, I'm Angela Rose. I'm a senior planner with the City of South Bend. We're working on some neighborhood plans this year, so I'm just here to participate and hear a little bit more about the greenhouse project.
Thanks, Angela. Patty.
Hey everybody, I'm Patty Willard. I'm Executive Director for Beacon Community Impact with Beacon Health System. And we work on high priority areas within the communities that we serve. And for us, food insecurity is one of those things that has come up on our community health needs assessment consistently. And so we have worked with other various projects around the regional area around this topic. And so I'm delighted to be invited to this and learn more about the potential of this project.
Great, thanks. Thanks for being here. And finally, Courtney.
Hi, I'm Courtney Crew, and I'm a AmeriCorps member with the E3 team. I work with Marty and Alkina and everyone, and I'm excited about this new project that we're doing.
And Courtney is going to help us by taking good notes for this session so that we don't have to worry too much about it. Thank you, Courtney.
Yep.
Alex, you just jumped on. Do you want to say hi real quick since you're here?
Sure, I'm Alex. I am also an AmeriCorps member with the Engagement and Economic Empowerment team. And I am so excited to hear all of your opinions on the greenhouse. We've been working on this for a while, so.
Thanks. So really, Patty and Viola and Becky, you're probably the three people newest to the project. The rest of us on the team have been talking on this back and forth for a while. So I can certainly talk about it in greater detail if you have questions, but I would like to open the floor to you to ask questions or to make comments or suggestions or recommendations, because we're in the very early stages right now, and we would like to make this a very engaged and successful project for the neighborhood. So feel free to jump in. I mean, we have a small group here. We can talk freely about any of the issues that seem important to talk about today.
So would this project, the greenhouse, then would it be the responsibility of the city or the Kennedy Park community area, or who's kind of the owner or the management of it, I guess, as it evolves?
Yeah, well, it's going to be built on city land. So I think ultimately it will be the responsibility of the city to take care of basic maintenance of the structure. We're still sort of negotiating with the BPA on how that works. We're hoping to hold on enough grant money and other community support money to program it, well, reconstruct it and program it out for at least 3 years so that the Parks Department doesn't have to feel the pinch right now. It's been a tough year for parks. And we know that they didn't bring this project to us, we brought it to them. So we're trying to be fair about it and do our part in supporting the project through the first few years.
But then ultimately, like, it's going to be staffed and run and programmed by VPA.
Probably.
Down the road.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, it's going to be associated with the King Center, so it may be King Center staff who take care of it as an extension of the King Center. I would like there to be at least sort of a part-time person in charge of the greenhouse, because it just takes that level of commitment at least to have somebody there. But we are also hoping for neighborhood involvement as well. So it could be that there is a neighborhood committee or commission that helps run the greenhouse and informs the kind of decision and the work that happens there.
Mhm. Yeah.
Those are really important questions, and I don't know if you saw the timeline that Dominique shared. It goes until 2022. So we're working on those things actively right now to figure out how to handle that, because we don't want to hand parks a project that they're not ready to handle or don't have the expertise on staff to handle.
Mhm.
My question is, so I've been involved in the Mishawaka Greenhouse project, and there was using more to kind of get plants for their landscape, and was more landscape focused, I guess, and plants, and having the garden club at the high school come and help with that. And I didn't know, it sounds like this is going to be more food focused.
Yes. So I'm also familiar with the Mishawaka project. We went out there, we spent some time with Jake Crawford.
With Jake, yeah.
Yes,
He's great.
very cool project, and very great how he's got the high school kids involved. with it, and he's got fish in there, tilapia, and the whole 9 yards. I think we do envision this because when a couple of years ago, and Viola, you can maybe talk to this more specifically, but a lack of a grocery store in the neighborhood was really a top concern when we did some survey work a couple of years ago. The situation has not improved since then. There are no new grocery stores in the neighborhood. There's no place you can walk and buy fresh food in Kinney Park. And Viola, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong about that, but our understanding
You
is,
absolutely right. You absolutely right, Marty. There's no place so we can go to get unless we go to farmer's market. That's the closest really somewhere where we can go to get fresh fruit. And I think it's a great idea. And I also think to get the community involved in it, and by getting them involved in it, either, with the young kids during the summer, that can teach them how to plan, give them responsibilities. Even you can, an elderly person can like oversee them in this project. But I think we're gonna have to get somebody, well, a lot of the community involved so that they can come to the thing, because they're gonna look at it as like, if it's a city, it's the city thing. They still gonna try to go to one of these grocery stores to buy their fruit. But if they see someone in the community working there, they will, look at it as a neighborhood thing and not a city thing. I think that's probably the best way to.
I'm really glad you said that, because I think we recognize, Dominique, I know, recognizes how important that part of the puzzle actually it is in this case. And so Becky, back to your question, we did talk originally, like, okay, what could we use this for? Back when it was still at the Potawatomi Zoo, we thought, what can we use it for? Should it be a nursery? Could it be even like an event space, sort of a unique event space? But at the end, we kept coming back to the fact that the food insecurity piece of it, and exactly what Viola is saying, the fact that there needs to be a neighborhood option to have access to some fresh and healthy foods in the neighborhood. And it could hopefully be even a catalyst to host a small farmers market, for example, right there on the King Center property, as opposed to having to go all the way across the river to the farmers market, which is not that far, but if you're on foot or if you're not very mobile, the farmers market's a bit of a hike away. So if we could use the greenhouse as a catalyst to bring some of those options directly to the Kinney Park neighborhood, at least in the summer months when fresh produce is available. So that's the idea. I mean, we're still programming it out. I mean, maybe there'd be a role for it to serve as a nursery for neighborhood beautification. Maybe it is a place where flowers could be prepped for planting and to beautify the neighborhood. That's not out of the question, but I think the food security piece is really important.
I think that relationship with the King Center is really important because, like, now it's like we do a lot of like farm to school, like promoting, you're going to have a farm to community center right there, where it could be kind of served and offered to the kids, taste testing, a lot of program that can be done around greenhouse. I would love to see an outdoor component to it, just because it would be nice to have like a community garden component to it too.
I think the MLK Center kind of functions like a school from our visit last week. So you have a lot of children that use that center. And I think Viola was completely correct in saying these kids having maybe a plot or something that they can plant in, and they're able to pick and bring it home to their families.
Really?
I know the church over in LaPorte where I worked previously had that right in our downtown of room, so we had to expand.
As far as
they also did
programs,
our orchard with it.
I would love an orchard. Yes, because orchards, like schools are scared to do orchards because of the bees. So if we could,
The bees
you
need
know,
our help too.
yes, yes. So it's like you say orchard and schools are like no orchard. We'll do some strawberry plants, but the program end, you have a lot of partners. There's no need to develop programs. The programs are already out there through extension has programming and there's partners like the hospital systems do programming. So health department. So I think as far as like a program goes, you're covered there. We could just help connect to different types of programs there.
Yeah, that would actually be really helpful, Becky. I know I think we're aware of that too, but we haven't had a chance yet to dig very deep into what some of those programs are yet. But clearly connecting with the King Center and the youth at the King Center would be a very, very logical step. And in addition to the older folks in the neighborhood too, who also utilize the King Center, there's a pretty active seniors program there. We heard, and Viola, you can probably speak to this. We heard a number of people tell us, oh, it used to be a lot of fresh food in the neighborhood. People had gardens, people had pear trees. So there was a culture in the neighborhood, I think, in the past where there was more homegrown food available. You'd go to your neighbor's yard, you'd go to your grandma's house, and you'd eat a fresh pear off the tree. And so, taking advantage of the older folks in the neighborhood too, who have these stories and these memories and this history of growing food on their own, and making that connection, we think is also hopefully a really positive opportunity for us. I mean, sorry, I'm going to be quiet.
Water.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say other communities, whenever we think about starting community gardens or greenhouses, water and electric being subsidized by the city. I mean, that's huge to already have that there because that's a big barrier in a lot of other communities is finding the water source.
Yeah.
Electric.
Yeah, we'll likely have to reactivate a 2-inch water main out in the street to serve the greenhouse, which, that'll just be part of the budget.
Okay.
Viola, you were going to say
Marty, yes. A couple years ago, I was working with Sarah over at the greenhouse to start, building put your boxes and just putting food in there,
Right.
planting. But she was telling me that, wherever we decide to put the urban garden at, that the city can tap in to the water system just by using a regular faucet. If there's a house there, because as you know, over in our area, we had a lot of houses that were demolition and tore down, but most of them, the water lines, mains is still there. So only thing they would have to do was to really tap into the system, and we can have water there, even right there on King Center, across the street, or even King Center, we can tap into their water. So that's good with the water supply. We will have enough water supply, and I don't know where we go by with getting the seeds and the starter plants and stuff like that. But I'm quite sure that, the ones that in charge of the greenhouse would, have enough there. But my main thing is, I heard someone saying about start a garden on the outside, just not on the inside. Where is there's enough room there on the lot, on the corner right there? Because I was thinking, how big is the greenhouse, and will we have enough spaces? We want to put little boxes on the outside to put plants in, or you taking up that whole area, or just that corner piece?
Yeah, so that's a good question. The greenhouse is 30 feet by 60 feet. So that's the size of the greenhouse that was at the Potawatomi Zoo, and so that's the size of the greenhouse that we would reconstruct. It's really not that big. It's a little smaller than the one in Mishawaka, or sorry, I actually think it's a little bigger than the one in Mishawaka. But not
Okay.
much. It's maybe the same depth, but a little wider. So I think the intention would be to put it pretty close to the corner so that it would sort of anchor that corner there across from Fonny's old place, right there at Linden and Birdsell. And depending on how you configure the site, I do think there would be room around the greenhouse for some exterior planting, some boxes, and hopefully as part of the development too, like a kind of an outdoor little seating area where you could sit and enjoy the plants that are being grown and have a picnic, kind of a picnicky kind of area nestled amongst the greenhouse and the plants. There should be plenty of room. I mean, you know better than we do, Viola, how well the baseball field gets utilized. I never really see kids out there playing baseball, but I don't think we would interfere with the baseball playing anyway, because it's well on the other side of the fence.
Right. And I think, by us doing that and getting kids involved, even with the kids that be on the basketball court and the ones that be in the playground area, that would give them something to do. Even the ones that just walking down the street, just get them something to do to get them off of the street. And I think it's a great idea to put something like that in Kennedy Park, because everybody's saying there's nothing to do in Kennedy Park. We don't have anything to do in Kennedy Park. So now we can say that there is something to do and, just invite them to come on help. And I think a lot of people just come in and just volunteer just to be doing something, get out of their houses.
Yeah, you were gonna say with the kids, oh, is it a summer feed site? Do you know if they do summer meals? I think.
Yes, they do. They do summer meals there.
Yeah, so it's the summer meals and then the senior nutrition sites. I don't know where the closest real services sites, but both summer meals and real services have kind of can partner with, this kind of programming too, which would be really nice.
Yeah, it'd be wonderful, to instead of, we can give the kids some fruits to eat and along with the meal that they get from the city. And also, senior citizens, because it's a lot of ones that here that really can't go to farmers market, and Kroger's is over on Western and Martin's is over on Mayflower. It's really too far for them to go to get really good fresh fruits. And the ones that used to have gardens in their backyard on the side, they either done passed away or they done left the area. So now it's mostly people that's in their 50s and 40s that's in this area that really, really need it.
One of the sources where you can get seeds from pretty easily, if you have good relationships with anybody that vends at the farmer's market. I know last year when I ran the farmer's market for LaPorte, a number of the growers were willing to donate seeds to individuals in need so that they can grow their own. So that might be something to look at, Marty. I actually know a couple that do heirlooms that you'd be able to use those for starters and then perhaps teach people how to harvest the seeds properly for the next year.
That's great.
Well,
That's great.
I'll do some advice.
Okay.
Patty, what do you think? You've been pretty quiet so far. I don't want to put you on the spot, but we've got 10 minutes left before they take us back to the main room.
So, obviously a great neighborhood program and great neighborhood idea, because I like you said earlier, this all grew out of feedback that you got from the community itself. So that's very important to any project. I'm wondering, just in terms of, seeking some local funders or, local opportunities to engage in it, is there going to be, some sort of measurement or ideas about, what's going to be considered successful or areas of opportunity to keep growing it? Is there going to be some measurements along the way, or how do you think you're approaching that?
Well, that's a good question and a good point. There will need to be some measurement, and I think once we nail down the program, it'll maybe a little easier to figure out what the
Sure.
metrics will be, like number of children served or number of meals served or pounds of something grown. I'm not really sure what the right metrics are.
Yeah. Just
But
a lot
you're
of the
right, we would
programs
need to
that-
have something to hold us accountable. And
Yeah, and again, the most important part is that it is rising from a community identified need, you know,
Yeah.
that the community, the region, the immediate area there has spoken to it, so they're obviously behind it. They see the need, so that's the most important part. But in terms of like projects that we fund, you know, we would typically need to have some sort of idea of what the metrics might be.
and what would, I mean, what would metrics be for a project like this? From
Well,
your experience, like,
yeah, I mean, just like you said, in terms of, pounds grown of food, access, the different age groups that are engaged in the programmings, as well as those engaged with, volunteering at the site, and then those that are able to harvest the food there. So just some different metrics on utilization, but really important in terms of really keeping the community engaged in it. So, who volunteers and what they do. But then you're also talking about some potential of some kind, an area being important in terms of minority owned businesses. So, how are you engaging the community in terms of that, in terms of who's going to be reconstructing it or reconstructing the building itself, but then all of the work, the land work that's needed around it.
Yes.
Will there be minority owned businesses, partaking in any of that type of stuff? And then does it really, if one of the key goals is access to fresh fruit and groceries, is that really going to be something you can measure? I mean, is it fulfilling that need? Because certainly food insecurity is on everybody's radar. So really,
yeah,
are those that are most in need really being connected to the food?
Right. Yeah. And like being within walking distance to the King Center and the senior apartments. Is it next to it's next to a bus stop. It's it has bike racks there. So I think exactly what Patty said, just being able to capture that, have that platform built kind of at the get-go will help for evaluation and future funding. And I'm happy to help with any evaluation works. Where, I could look across the country for SNAP-Ed has a whole evaluation frameworks toolkit. So we could see what other communities have done to evaluate their greenhouses, food access projects.
I will definitely take you up on that, Becky. I mean, I don't want to oversell the project. I mean, obviously, we're not going to grow we're not going to grow in an 1,800 square foot greenhouse, even if we're using the outside fruits and vegetables for the whole neighborhood, right? At best, it can serve as a catalyst and as a focal point. If we're going to have
demand.
What's that?
It increases demand, so we can get our gas stations that accept SNAP to have fresh produce at the checkout, or the Dollar Generals that are popping up.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, like that's going to be a new standard. Like if you want to be a grocery store or SNAP retailer, then we need to have you need to have healthy, fresh food.
Right, and they can buy bags of fresh greens from the greenhouse to put at their gas.
Yeah, there's a ripple effect, what it does for that immediate area there. Does it increase in usage of the baseball field you mentioned? Maybe
Right.
something pops up out of that, or increased usage there of the King Center. Even
Right.
some increased intergenerational programming, you
Yes.
mentioned the seniors as well as the children. But yeah, it could the ripple effect. Yeah, I agree. Your one greenhouse, isn't intended to feed the entire community there, but there's lots of things that come out of it. And so, will somebody have an eye to that? Because those are longer term, right? Those are maybe
Right.
3 to 5 to more years. So is there someone, like you mentioned, possibly having an associate sort of assigned to that project, but is there someone keeping an eye on all those things?
Right, right. And hopefully we will. I mean, hopefully we'll be able to assign like an AmeriCorps member to this
Oh, okay.
project or something along those lines to sort of keep it going, keep the, you know, you talk to Jay Crawford at the one in Mishawaka. I mean, someone has to be there every day during the growing season. You can't take 5 days off and then come up later. Your plants will be dead by the time you get back. So you really, it does need that kind of level of care, especially during the critical, you know, parts of the season. We've also talked about, I mean, it's a bit of a storytelling exercise, but it connects back directly to the greenhouse, about sourcing recipes from the neighborhood and then catering our seed choices based on recipes that we hear from neighbors. You know, what kinds of fruits and vegetables do people use in the neighborhood? And so not to make assumptions that everyone wants tomatoes or whatever it is, but to really also it gives a chance to tell a story about what I grew up eating or what I like to eat or what's culturally. Dominique mentioned in her presentation about culturally appropriate foods too being part of the equation. So I think that something like that will be part of how we decide what to grow in the greenhouse.
Nice.
I think you can take that even a step further, and you could have a certain person from the neighborhood that could feature a certain recipe and teach the kids, hey, this is where the cucumber comes from. I use this, this, and this, and that's how we make this. Because then they bring it home and they show their parents or grandparents. So education.
Yeah, that's a great idea. One thing that so the St. Joseph County Food Access did a food assessment when I first started, like I think it's been 3 years now, but one of the focus groups on food and food access mentioned, well, 2 things. They mentioned cookware. So like, okay, so now we have the produce, but you know, do we have the proper steamer, peeler, the proper things to, you know, to be able to cook? And then seasonings. Food pantries don't get seasonings, and the food pantry director said seasonings are so important to go with the produce because that's what gives them their flavor and really makes things you never eat taste super yummy.
Right.
So if they write a grant for seasonings or some of the cookware, that would be great.
Would they be able to grow their own spices in the greenhouse? Because that might be interesting as well.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly
be fresh.
Basil is pretty easy. You know, there are a number of herbs that would be growable for sure. I love that idea though. You know, maybe as part of it, if we had a grant that was funded, you know, you get some greens, but you don't just get a bag of greens. You also get a package of seasoning to go with those greens, which you're right, it can make all the difference.
You get the cucumbers, tomatoes, and the cilantro to mix ceviche or whatever it be.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and maybe the recipe that goes with it, right? Like. Yeah,
you can make. Yeah, they call pizza gardens. There's different themes of gardens.
Yeah. I've seen that. We're gonna get kicked out here in a minute, and it just really seemed like kind of a silly question. Sorry.
Getting hungry. All this talk.
I know.
Basil. Tomatoes.
I'm glad that all of you have brought up some concerns because I want to hear what dangers we face in pursuing this project too. So Patty, I'm glad you brought up like looking at those metrics. Are there any other, before we get kicked out, like what other pitfalls should we try to avoid? We're not gonna have enough time, but we don't want to be stupid about this, you know, and
For sure, yeah.
All right, well.
Heaven, can you add those benefits that we got Miss Stanley cut off on at the end there, which that they have gardening tools for the youth. So in the sense of benefits that they can bring to the project. Thanks, Heaven. Welcome back, everybody.
Hello, everyone. Are we back?
We're back.
We are back.
Hey, we're back. Thank you everyone for hanging in there and having some really great conversations. How is everybody's breakout rooms? There's some great conversations. I think we're having some great conversations this evening.
Mhm.
We had a great time in our room. Really great ideas. Smart
We
people.
might have had too much fun.
Great. So I get to pick on you, Marty, and you get to talk about what you guys discussed in your room.
Sure. I don't have any notes in front of me, and I didn't take notes while I was there because somebody else was taking notes. But
Can we or can we share the notes from that room?
I don't know if Courtney can do that.
Uh-oh.
We had three really critical people with Viola Sims, who's the president of the Kennedy Park Neighborhood Association, was in our room, and Becky Lease, am I saying it right? Becky, yeah, Becky Lease from the Purdue Extension, and I don't have it. Becky and
Patty Willett was also in your group, I believe.
yes, there we go. Thank you, Patty.
From Beacon Health Systems.
I was like, Becky, Patty. I'm like, it's not. So yeah, Patty was awesome. So Becky and Patty, and of course Viola knows the neighborhood like nobody else. And Becky and Patty have a ton of experience supporting projects with around food insecurity. So the three of them together really made for a powerful team for us to listen to. I mean, in general, if we do it right, I think I got the impression that everybody felt like this could be a real benefit to the community. They were, the relationship with the King Center, both the youth at the King Center and the seniors at the King Center, it dovetails with a need that has been pre-identified by the neighborhood itself, and a critical component of food insecurity, which is sort of a nationally recognized problem and very, very specifically present in this part of South Bend. So we got good ideas, and Angela Rose had good ideas about where to source seeds from, how to engage youth with recipes and spices, and using the project as a catalyst to encourage kind of a chain reaction or some knock-on effects. I think, Patty, that was, you mentioned that, could the greenhouse increase activity at the King Center, activity at the baseball field? How does it relate to the local gas stations who want to have SNAP on their, Patty, you can maybe say it, I'm saying that wrong, but who want to have SNAP benefits available, but who need to be able to prove to the program that they're also providing the kinds of fresh produce that would allow them to qualify. I can stop talking. I don't know, Patty or Becky or Viola, if you want to say anything about our conversation.
No, I back up everything that you said there, Marty. Really good. I mean, we talk about, because this whole project started, from the community feedback, that it's really from the community. So you guys have already felt the engagement from the community on this and the need from the community. So that's so very important. And obviously a very important need, not only here, as you guys have mentioned earlier, a need everywhere, and having it really be just appropriate for that neighborhood. There isn't one size fits all, on many programs, and this one as well, so that it fits in with the community and serves the goals that the community sees as needs and serves the community well. I mean, those I think are the most important reasons. So I think you're off on a wonderful start.
That's great. Thank you, Miss Patty. Can we hear from some other folks? What about Michael or Alkina's room?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Alkina's room, not Michael.
Well, we appointed Miss Deborah Stanley to share back, and we also have notes from Heaven, who somehow is able to follow my nonsense.
Well, in our room was just full of excitement and passion about this project. And so some of it is just this whole notion, as Maryland has been advocating for years, just bringing fresh produce to this section of the community, and not just produce, but the regrowing of fruit trees. Because those of us who were children here remember going from home to school and passing pear trees, apple trees, peach trees, grapes growing on the vines in the alleys, and just an abundance of all of that. And so to try to restore those things that gave us a sense of community and nurtured us and was good nutrition for us. And the partnerships, the people, the desire for folks to work together. And so having several generations of folks working together, and then how everything will work hand in hand, from the greenhouse and the growing of produce, the peace garden, the performing arts center, all these plans, just again, the excitement of revitalizing this section of community. And so, yes, we're just happy to be a part of, and we just can't wait till it happens. But proud to be helping to make it happen. Yes. And seeing
Thank you so
Maryland's
much.
dream come true. We're gonna get that grocery store too, Maryland.
All right. I got the data.
Thank you so much. And that was and I'm actually going to ask Miss Marilyn to report back on some of the things that we discussed in our room.
Oh my, I didn't take notes, but
Ryan, can you project the notes?
Who took notes?
We have our AmeriCorps volunteer, Ryan.
Is Ryan?
So he should be projecting the notes here in a minute.
Oh, okay. Okay, wonderful. I say ditto along with what has been said so far, because there's so many possibilities. This part of the neighborhood needs a place, and this could be that place. And a place is good for building relationships, for bringing new programs to the neighborhood. It could benefit our health by offering exercise programs that are trending today, like Pilates and yoga and those kind of things that you have to go out to Notre Dame or further west to take part of. But anything that we can do to learn from. Is Ryan coming? We were talking about.
So I wrote down the notes on paper, but yeah, I mean, we talked about that, the potential for year-round access, to the greenhouse. Aaron had even mentioned, the potential for the MLK Center, even serving more healthy produce, or, a healthier option, potentially even from the greenhouse or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Jasmine also mentioned her organization, which was Dig In.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Dig In. We can also, the potential for them holding, these conversations about race and community, and using the greenhouse as a venue for that. There's also talks of, the local farmers market. Is there any potential with, collaboration? Maryland, right? You said they were the
right. It's good to see Krista on here, because she was one of the founders of the urban farmers market. I'm laughing because it still has her logo, but yeah, bringing that to this particular spot, maybe once a month or however often they would like to come, because we would have the audience for them that we were having trouble finding when it was on a different part of the west side. So that was something that we thought we could tie into.
Yeah, and then I believe Holly, correct, you mentioned something about the health department too.
Yeah, I think it did. Yeah, I was also talking about the like the youth through the juvenile center, maybe helping out, just learning a new way to respect the community and to learn something for their own, growing their own food, how to prepare it, and learning a skill to go along with it. There's just so many different ideas that could help. I guess I have a degree in criminal justice, and I dealt with a lot of young juvenile kids that they need something positive. And I think that this would be a very good thing for them.
And you mentioned your organization also, right?
Yes, yeah. Indiana Health Centers over on Bendix. Last year, I should say they, because I wasn't there yet. They had 2 boxes that were prepared, and they were growing vegetables for the clients that we deal with, because we do deal with mostly low-income individuals, and they don't have a lot. So it was like a trial and error thing. So this would be our 2nd year. And so we've already been trying to explore some of our options and maybe what to do and so on. But this is much bigger than our 2 little boxes. It's a very positive move, for the community, and to let them know that you care, and you're willing to do what you can to make sure that they have the means to eat healthy and it's going to get back on track. So we're looking forward to it.
Thank you so much, Ms. Gentry. Also, I wanted to point out Ms. Brown. Ms. Brown, can you talk a little bit more about your organization and how you wish to connect with the Greenhouse Project as well? And Ms. Marilyn, I know you're part of the organization as well. I thought it was really interesting.
Absolutely. We are a group of community members, Dig In, and our goal is to bring community members together to have a conversation around a communal meal. We feel that once community members come together over food and breaking bread, that it builds the bonds of trust, it builds the bonds of relationship. It makes individuals able to be vulnerable and to have maybe tough conversations surrounding things inside their neighborhood, be it race, be it problems that we need to turn into issues, and then become a problem-solving group as well. And so we're looking to see if this greenhouse here could accommodate us at some point in time. We think that the fact that there is natural grown food, that community members are the people involved in engaging in creating the food and the processes, could be some of the people sitting at the table having the conversations to make their community a better place.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Marilyn, we've been, Dig In has been together for, we say 2 years. I think 2 years, we're going into our 3rd here soon. So we're just finishing a session now, but we are looking to, again, grow community members in the right way, as far as being organic in our conversation, being organic with our food, and then again, bringing organic relationships together to build community.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Wow, that's really incredible.
Yeah, that would be an excellent venue for it.
Thank you so much for providing us with some more insight on your organization and what you guys do. So is there any more, do we have any questions in regards to tonight's event? Or any more input or feedback?
Not right now, maybe later after we can process it all.
Okay. I know it's a lot to absorb. It's very heavy.
It is, but it's very interesting.
Hey, Dominique, could you, I don't have the timeline in front of me anymore, but could you remind us what next steps might look like?
Yes, I can actually, Alex, can you put the engagement timeline up for us, please?
Yeah, it might take me just a minute, but I'll pull it up.
But yes, next steps include a design charrette and another listening session. And so we will be, well, basically, like I said earlier, you guys are going to actually hear from us all year long. So in regards to this project. And so there will be a number of ways for you to get involved, to get plugged in, and to continue to provide us with input and feedback as we continue to develop this project. So a lot of things that we heard tonight was the fact that we want that folks want to see some local programming, especially for youth. They want to see some more programming at the MLK Center. They want to see some other types of programming, like even some CSA program, community supported agriculture, that helps to support residents in the neighborhood that might have mobility challenges, things like that. So this has been a really great conversation. And so as you can see, this is our engagement timeline. Currently, this is where we are in regards to engaging you as our community partners. We will have another listening session next month. We'll report out again in April to say, hey, this is what we heard. So we actually have a survey. We're going to follow up with you with an email, these recordings from this particular listening session, and a survey. So if you didn't provide us with your input, or your all of your input and feedback, I should say, please provide us with that in regards to the survey that we're going to send out. And also most of you have my contact information. I think maybe all of you have my contact information. So please feel free to reach out to me anytime with any questions that you might have. And thank you, Alex. And so stay engaged and participate and involved. And so we're so excited for all of you that joined us this evening. And we really value and appreciate your input and your feedback, because it will continue to drive the development of this project. So thank you all so very much. So
Thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah,
everybody.
thank you for including us.
Thank you.
Great job, E3. Great job.
Thank you, everybody.
Good.
Hey, Dominique,
We'll follow up with you, Mark.
as Deborah Stanley was talking about the pear trees and apple trees and the grapes and all these things, first of all, I didn't realize that used to be that way over there, which is really interesting. So thanks for sharing that, Deborah.
Yeah.
It's compelling. And then I start to think how city codes and ordinances develop over time. There's so many zoning and ordinances and rules that actually prohibit some of these things from happening. You know, and you see, and even policies like in the Parks Department that don't allow fruit trees because the guys don't want to mow around the dropping fruit, or, you know, city code doesn't allow any fruit trees on any right of ways because they're afraid it's going to drop on the sidewalks or on people's cars. And so, you know, I can't help but wonder if we need to scrub city codes and ordinances to see where we're prohibiting things that we actually value happening. You know, it just, as you said that, all these things started, why did that change? And somewhere along the way, we might have been our own worst enemy in making some of that stuff change. And so it might be worth looking into that. So
that would be a wonderful project to take on, Aaron, because I can remember not too long ago being in a conversation with people that grew up in the neighborhood, and they were talking about that very thing. You went to Mrs. Smith's yard if you wanted a sweet cherry. You went to so-and-so's yard if you wanted, you know, certain taste to the fruit that you were selecting. So it was very common. My grandparents had a couple cherry trees. My neighbors had pear trees. Yeah, it was very common, because the whole idea is that you could share food free with the community, within the community.
At least in some designated areas, Aaron, I think that would be really smart to, like, it, you know, you kind of pick the location where you want that to happen at. It's very much so like what you guys are doing with your roving chicken coop at this time. Is that, you know, you're picking the places. Sorry, I was trying to say it in the best way. I don't got all of the linguistic skills, AP. But what I'm saying is that you pick the location where you want to, like, have these experiences, and then we as a community decide that we want to grow that experience into more locations.
Well, thank you for that, Aaron. I have so many students, and here's another project for them. Perfect. I'll get them on that right away.
Thanks for letting me chime in there, Dominique. I know you're trying to wrap it up, but I just
Oh,
couldn't help.
no, you're okay. Is there any, are there any more questions or comments or anything? Now we're at the reminiscing point, I guess.
I
of
sure
the
want to know,
hour.
Miss Viola, did you have some fruit trees back in your, what was it like? Come on, tell us a little bit now. Like, I'm not touching that unmute button, no matter what. That is done, I'm going back home. I'll go get it direct. Don't y'all worry. I'll come back with a story.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone. If nobody else has any questions or anything for me again, please reach out to me directly. You have my contact information. I would be more than happy to answer any questions. And so everybody have a great evening. Stay warm. So.
Good everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
Great work, E3, y'all.
Thank you.
Good to see you, Mark.
Yeah. Hi, Mark. Hi, Dave. Mark, we are you are sending somebody to the session on Sunday night, right? The banking session.
Oh, I'm glad you reminded me of that. Yeah, let me check with one of my bankers.
Okay, you have to now because Tom Grip is also coming. So First Source has got to represent the banks, and Tom can represent the credit unions.
Oh, okay. All right.
You
Okay.
can find somebody. We might actually do a little bit of role playing. In fact, in the sense that like whoever you send could be the banker, and we might walk through a couple of sort of role playing exercises for small developers.
Okay.
Like mock interviews or something like that. So
Okay.
let me know if you have a good person.
Okay. You sent me the information it was about a week or so ago, right?
I did.
That. Yeah.
If you'd like, I can resend it to you. So it's fresh in your
I
inbox.
should have it. I should have it. I apologize.
It is okay. You're a busy guy. I'm glad you're here tonight.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. I'm glad you reconnected then and you reminded me of that. So,
yeah, sure thing.
Okay. I'll do that right now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Yep. Good night.